Hello everyone and welcome to episode 18 of the More Knits podcast. My name is Abby and I will be your host today. So, it has been a while since I last filmed an actual episode. If you missed it, I actually filmed a couple of vlogs, so you should definitely check out my channel if you have not watched those. If you're interested in those, it's a little different from the podcast, but somewhat interesting, so check them out at your own risk. But yeah, it is Monday, August 19th, but I do have a feeling this will be published maybe next weekend, so it might be a few days after that you are watching, but for me it is a Monday evening after work, and I'm knitting today. I don't usually knit on the podcast just because there's a lot of things to show you and stuff like that, but I really like when other people knit on their podcasts because I'm usually knitting when I'm watching them. So it kind of feels like I'm at like a knit night or something, where we're all knitting together. Not really, but kind of. So yeah, I hope that you are doing well since we last talked. So if you are not familiar with who I am, you can find me as more.knits on Instagram and Abby Moreland on Ravelry. And those will be linked below, as well as everything else I talk about. So all of my projects that I show you, I will link to the Ravelry project page, and anything else I mention, if there's a website or something like that, I will link down below. So hopefully you can find everything that I talk about if you want to. But of course, feel free to leave a comment below if there's anything that I missed or you just want clarification on anything. So it has been a couple of weeks since we last talked, actually more than a couple of weeks. I went on vacation, which was really nice. It was great to have a break from everyday life, and I didn't get a ton of knitting done, but it was the perfect break that I needed. And actually I haven't been doing a ton of knitting since I got home, but life's just been really busy since I got home. Getting everything ready for the fall semester, which starts in less than a week, well actually exactly a week, so that is coming up really soon, so just getting everything ready for that, and then work always seems to ramp up right before the semester starts as well. If you don't know, I work at the university that I go to school at. So when my school life gets busy, my work life also gets busy, and vice versa. So tonight I am drinking coffee out of my Stitch and Bitch mug. Unfortunately, you can no longer get this mug because the Etsy shop I bought it from has closed, so I'm sorry that you can't be as cool as me. Just kidding. You can still be cool as long as you have a different type of Stitch and Bitch mug. So, yep, just drinking coffee today, per usual. This is my second cup, so let's hope it kicks in soon because I had a cup early this morning. I actually worked from home today, which was really nice. It was just a really nice break from talking to people, because usually my days are full of meetings, and then during the school year class, and just a lot of talking and working things out with people, which I like to do, but I am an introvert, so it tires me out really quickly. So filming at night is like, or in the evening, it's about 7 p.m. in the evening, is sometimes really difficult to do. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the knitting. So I will start with FOs, as I usually do. So the first FO I have is a pair of socks that I don't think you have seen yet. So these are Felici socks. This colorway is called, wait for it, this is the Mountain Mist colorway, and it's really cool. I love the black stripes in it. I think that really makes the colorway, kind of ties all the colors together. So these are classic cuff down socks, and I went with the heel flap and drop heel. I actually knit an Eye of Partridge heel, Can you see that? I think it's in focus. I knit an Eye of Partridge heel for the first time, and then I also knit a French heel for the first time as well. And these are 56 stitches. I literally, I can't say that at all. Like, I literally struggle to say that every time. But they are 56 stitches. There we go. 2x2 rib cuff and a wedge toe. So pretty standard for me, except for a couple of different things I did differently for the heel, just for fun, just to change it up a little bit. But and I knit these on a US 0. And yeah, that's been my go-to lately. I knit these in like a week, I think. I knit them so quickly. So yeah, I was just really motivated to knit striped socks. Striped socks are almost always motivating though. If you're in a knitting rut and you have some striped yarn, self-striping yarn, definitely go for it because they're so easy. There's no ends, there's no extra ends. They're just really fun to knit. So yep, I have a few more skeins of Felici in my stash that I am slowly working through. I know that there was an update a few weeks ago for Felici yarn. I think they only do updates twice a year, and I really contemplated buying some, but I have a couple of skeins that I've had for almost a year now that I haven't used yet, so I kind of felt like I feel obligated to use that before I buy more Felici. But it is a great yarn. It's really soft, it's really affordable, and it's super fun. So, and that's how it looks when you don't knit any sort of like afterthought heel or slip, sorry, not slip stitch, short row heel. That's what it looks like. So you can see like the striping here is a little bit smaller. These stripes are thinner than the rest of the stripes, but that really doesn't bother me that much. I know some people are bothered by that, but it's such a, like, it's not very noticeable to me, and I like the different colored heel. And you can see I worked it out so that the heel flap is one color purple and then the heel turn is the lighter purple. So that's kind of how I do it when I do when I knit a drop heel and gusset out of self-striping yarn. That's my method. So there you go, Felici socks. And my next FO are my Regia Pairfect Christmas socks in the Garden colorway. I knit these on US 0s, but I did 60 stitches, 1x1 rib cuff, and then I knit an OMG heel by Megan Williams. That is a paid for pattern on Ravelry. It's a great pattern, and it is a short row heel with a mini gusset, or a mock gusset, depending on which direction you knit your socks. And it's a really great heel. It fits my foot way better than normal short row heels because of the little gusset that it has, but it's great for colorwork socks. And then I just did a round wedge toe. So one funny thing about these socks is that I knit them with about 6 months in between each sock. And this sock is the one that I knit first, and I started this Christmas 2018, and I knit almost the whole sock on my Christmas break. I had a week off, and it was just a really relaxing week where I basically only knit because I had gotten everything I needed to done, and so it was just really relaxing. And then this second sock I finished about a month ago, so I knit this during a really stressful spring semester. There was a lot going on in my life, and I was just really stressed out, but I was trying to finish these socks so that I had them in time for this Christmas. So if you look at the two socks, you will notice that the one I knit on Christmas break is significantly looser than the one I knit when I was really stressed out. So clearly my attention, my gauge had changed. So yep, that's generally what happens. I know it's really common to change your gauge when going through different periods of your life. If you're really relaxed, you might have a looser gauge, and if you're really stressed out, your gauge might get tighter. But I just hadn't really noticed until I put these two socks together and realized that like this one is even a little bit longer. You can see that just because of the gauge. Everything else was done exactly the same. So you know, it's not great for knitting a pair of socks, but I'm just really happy to be done with these. They took me what felt like the longest time. I mean, like close to a year to knit these. So I'm really happy to have them for this Christmas. And I do want to mention that I am calling them my Christmas socks, but this colorway is not like just a Christmas colorway. It just looks like Christmas to me, and I thought it would be fun to have a pair of Christmas socks because I've never made Christmas socks before. So that is why I'm calling them my Christmas socks. There's no other reason. Alright, so those are my FOs, and let's move on to whips. So the first whip I have to show you is a long-term whip. If you've been following me for a while, you'll likely remember this. Maybe not, because it's been so long since I worked on it and actually had progress to show. So this is the Nimue by Cirilia Rose. It is published in Pom Pom magazine, and you'll notice that it does look basically finished, but it is still a whip. So I'll explain everything in a minute, but this is what it looks like. It is a swancho. It is like a sweater poncho. So it has these big sleeves that will be seamed on the bottom, and it has this really deep neckline with an interesting cable twisted stitch kind of motif there on the front. It's my favorite part of the pattern and definitely why I wanted to knit this. So this is knit out of Drops Alpaca in the colorway Altrosa, I think is how you say that. And it is a 100% alpaca yarn. It's really affordable. It's supposed to be sport weight. That is what the pattern called for. It's actually the Drops yarn, though, is much closer to a fingering weight. And so that's one way that like I accidentally modified the pattern, and probably partly why this doesn't fit as it should. So all I need to do to make this an FO is seam the sleeves. And I even have stitch markers clipping the two sides together. So I just need to seam up from here all the way down to the body, essentially, and then also do this sleeve. So it's really, really close to being done. I already blocked it, so I don't need to block it again. Well, I'm going to set this down so that I can continue knitting on my project, but I'm not very hopeful in that sweater actually fitting and being a wearable garment, which is a real bummer because when I started it, I was really excited about it. I thought I would wear it all the time. I mean, it's a unique garment, and it is a poncho-like garment, so it was probably not very likely that I would wear it like every day. It's just not a garment to wear every day. But I did think I was going to wear it a lot, and I really liked it. And I still do, but the pattern had a lot of issues when I first knit it, so I ended up re-knitting both sleeves, and I re-knit the front. And so it really feels like I knit that sweater twice, which is partly why it lingered so much and why it's lingering right now when it just needs to be seamed. But it just fits really poorly. The deep V sits really strangely, where if I move slightly, it will like pull in one direction and gape, and it's just not very wearable in that way. And then the sleeves look really strange on me. So, I mean, I need to seam it first, and I'll decide once I've seamed it if it's actually wearable, but I'm really not holding out for that garment. It's my first real sweater bomb. I have sweaters that I don't wear very often that I knit, but I've never knit a sweater that's just like completely unwearable. So we'll see. Of course, when I finish it, I'm going to try to style it in a couple different ways and see if I can make it wearable, but I just have a feeling that I'm never going to wear it. I'm not a fan of like fussy garments, and I thought that this one wouldn't be very fussy, but after trying it on, it just doesn't seem like it's the garment for me. I can't stand clothing that I have to like constantly rearrange on my body and constantly make sure that like nothing is showing, and it's just, I hate those types of garments. I can only wear them for like a couple hours at a time, so maybe if I go out for the evening or something and I can change, I might wear it, but I don't foresee myself wearing it as like an all-day kind of outfit, which means I won't get very much use out of it. But that's okay. It happens, and you know, I am happy that I didn't spend a ton of money on the yarn. I think if I really invested in nice yarn, I probably would take it out, but I mean, I just spent so many hours knitting it, and so much frustration because I had to rip it out so many times, and I had to change the pattern and modify it a lot. So much that I don't even think it's worth writing it all out, because I didn't take notes when I started, because I wasn't anticipating modifying it. So anyway, I would not recommend the pattern, unfortunately. It looks great, and maybe if you went up a couple of sizes, it might fit a little bit better if you just wear like a shirt underneath, basically because it's just like a bag that you're throwing on over your body. But in terms of an actual like nicely fitting garment, knit in the size that the pattern called for my bust, it doesn't look very nice. So when I actually finish it, I will show it on, and we can decide then, but I just wanted to mention that I'm not holding out for it being a great sweater. And then my next whip is the one that I have been working on, and this is the Weekender by Andrea Mowry. This is a very popular pattern, so I'm sure all of you have seen it or probably knit it. I had planned this project for several months in anticipation of this road trip that I just went on, and I didn't do a ton of knitting on the trip, but it doesn't really matter. I'm really looking forward to finishing this sweater. This will be, I'm pretty sure, a very wearable sweater. It is a really oversized, it has like I think 10 inches of positive ease. It's a very oversized drop shoulder sweater, and it's actually knit inside out, so I'll show you, because the right side is reverse stockinette, but since it's knit in the round, she has you knitting it inside out so that you don't have to do all of that purling, which is really nice. So this is actually what it will look like when it is finished. It's got that slip stitch column down the front and down the back, and 1x1 rib on the bottom. The sweater is bottom up, and I just got to the point where I'm splitting for the sleeves, so I'm knitting flat now, and I'm working on the front. So the only modification that I have made is shortening the body, and that is only because I'm a short person. I'm 5'3", and I just generally think shorter or more cropped garments look more flattering on my body, and I just prefer them. So I wear a lot of high-waisted pants and skirts, and I just prefer cropped garments. So I shortened it by 4 inches. The pattern calls for you to knit the body under the arms for 15 inches, and I stopped at about 11 inches. And the reason, or the way that I came to that number, was I took a cropped sweater that I already own that fits me really nicely and that I like, and I measured under the arms, and it measured 11 inches exactly. So that is why I decided to knit mine for 11 inches instead of the full 15. And that's the only modification I foresee myself making for this garment. It's a really simple pattern. I mean, it's Andrea Mowry. She's a great pattern writer. It has been knit thousands of times. It's pretty foolproof, so I don't think that I'll make any more modifications. So the yarn that I'm knitting this out of is Classic Elite Yarns Legend in the colorway 3138. And unfortunately this yarn was discontinued. Actually the entire company went out of business. When they went out of business and discontinued all of their yarn, Webb's discounted it all pretty heavily to get rid of it. And so I caught that and got this yarn at a really great price. So I'm really sorry that you can't purchase it anymore. You might be able to find it on a D-stash, but I was pretty happy to get such a great discount because this is an 80% merino and 20% silk blend, and so normally that's just a little bit out of my price range, but since it was on clearance, it became a really affordable sweater quantity yarn for me. So, and I really love the color. It's like a deep kind of khaki green, which is definitely my color. And I am knitting these on size 9 needles, I think. I think so. I'm pretty sure the pattern calls for size 10, but I wanted just a slightly tighter gauge. And I didn't quite get gauged because of that. I got a little bit tighter gauge than the pattern called for. But that's what I wanted. And I'm knitting the second size, so it'll have, I think it'll have like 7 inches of positive ease. Yeah, so it'll have 7 inches of positive ease on me, and the pattern recommends 10 inches. But because I'm a little bit shorter and I have a larger bust, I don't love huge garments on myself, and so I'm totally fine with the 7 inches of positive ease rather than the full 10 inches. It's just personal preference. It would probably be fine at 10 inches, but I didn't want to go up the next size. It's a lot of stitches, and again, I think I would prefer the way that the smaller positive ease looks on me versus the larger one, so I'm pretty happy with the second size. So my last whip that I have is another pair of socks, and these are living in my handmade project bag. I just made this with some Joann's fabric, and yeah, I really like it. This is probably my favorite bag that I have made. So I also cast these socks on for my trip and did not get very much knitting, but I just felt like I needed a pair of plain vanilla socks just in case. So these are actually not completely vanilla, they are ribbed. So I did a 1x1 rib, and then I'm doing a 3x1 rib for the rest of the foot, which I've never tried before, but I've heard a lot of people have a good experience with a slightly ribbed sock because it just conforms to your foot a lot better. So yeah, I figured I would try it out. So I'm knitting these bottom down or cuff down on size US zeros. These are 56 stitches, which is my latest standard pattern for socks. And I am knitting these out of this yarn, and I'm not 100% sure how to say this. Cervinia? I don't know. That's probably super off, but that is the yarn brand, and it is the Forever line, and this is the colorway 61, and it's a really pretty multicolored self-striping yarn. And I picked this up, this is what it knits like again. I picked this up at a yarn store when I was traveling in northern Idaho. Yeah, so it was really inexpensive and I just wanted a souvenir from that place. And yeah, it's I'm making progress really slowly. I was kind of on a sock kick for a while, and then now I'm kind of calming down with the socks again, and picking up sweaters, which are kind of my main thing to knit. They're my favorite thing to knit. In the last whip that I have to show you, which I just remembered, is a crochet pillow, which I am making out of granny squares. So here's the stack of granny squares that I have so far. I just started this a few days ago, so I don't have too many made yet, but I am making a pillow for this chair that I'm sitting on right now. I got this chair from IKEA on my trip, and I really like it. It's a great knitting chair, but it needed a pillow and I couldn't find one that I liked at the stores, so I decided to make one. So this is using some yarn that I bought from Michael's. If you watched my latest August vlog, you will see me buying it and picking out the colors. And I also showed a couple of inspiration photos that I had for this pillow for the colors. But I'll just show you each granny square. So this is the Sunburst granny square, and I'm using a pattern. It is a pattern on Ravelry called Sunburst Pillow by Maria Sommer. It's a free pattern, and she just has a pattern for the granny squares, and then I'm not even sure if there's instructions to sew them all together, but I'm sure I can figure it out if there aren't. But yeah, I'm just gonna put these all together. Here's another one. And another one. And then I'm just gonna buy a pillow and put this on as the pillow cover. So yeah, those are all the squares that I have so far, and then I also have another one that I just started. So I just have the little center piece of that, but yeah, I'm really enjoying crocheting this. I like all the different colors, and it's just really inspiring to work with a bunch of different colors, because normally I normally don't stripe things. I just don't like dealing with all of the ends to weave in. But thankfully with these, because they are going on a pillow, they're not going to be sewn into a blanket. I've kind of left the ends short, and those are just going to be on the inside of the pillow. And then I'll probably sew that one in because it's on the edge. But yeah, so it should be really easy and not a whole lot of fuss, which I prefer. So that's everything for this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it, and again, all of the links to everything I mentioned will be in the description box below, so check those out if you're interested, and let me know what projects you're working on.